Hello everyone and welcome to our 21st lesson, officially legal, of the ESL program for the Literacy and Learning Center here in Highlands. I hope that you have had a wonderful week, that you have stayed safe and busy, and after this brief intro we'll get started. Hola a todos y bienvenidos a nuestra lección número 21 por parte del programa en línea del Literacy y Learning Center aquí en Highlands. Espero que se han estado manteniendo ocupados y sanos. Y bueno, comencemos la lección. Before we read the article for today, let's look at the vocabulary that we'll see in the article. We're going to just look over the vocabulary right now, and after we read it, we'll go over the definitions as well. So just listen for the words and see if you can discern the meaning, or you can pick up what the meaning is from the context of the article, okay? Paragraph 1, certain. 2, link. 3, pattern. 4, restless. 5, interrupt. 6, entirely. 7, nocturnal. Paragraph 2, 8, conducted. 9, tracked. 10, isolated. 11, rural. 12, artificial. 13, synchronized. 14, phases. All right, let's read the article. All right, let's read the article today titled "A Full Moon Could Give You a Bad Night's Sleep." If you have trouble sleeping at certain times of the month, it could be because of a full moon. Scientists from the University of Washington say there is a link between the lunar cycle and sleeping patterns. They say that on nights when there is a full moon, people could experience more restless sleep. The reason for this could be the moon's changing brightness. When there is a full moon, the extra brightness in the night sky could interrupt our sleep. The scientists said, "Moonlight is so bright to the human eye that it is entirely reasonable to imagine that, in the absence of other sources of light, this source of nocturnal light could have had a role in changing the human nocturnal activity and sleep." The scientists conducted a study of the sleep patterns of over 500 people. Each person wore a special wristband that tracked their sleep. The study included 98 people from an isolated village in rural Argentina. These people did not have access to electricity and other artificial light sources. Their sleep patterns were compared to 464 people living in the U.S. city of Seattle, which has lots of artificial light pollution. The scientists discovered that people in the rural village and in the big city got less sleep on the nights leading up to the full moon. The scientists said the artificial light in cities does not seem to affect sleeping patterns in that human sleep is synchronized with lunar phases. Put it on pause, reread it or re-listen to it, and see if you can pick out some of the words that we saw in the vocab. All right, let's go over the vocabulary matching. Number 1, certain. It's going to be see, kind of known, but who, where, or when, but not exactly named. Number 2, link, a relationship between two things or situations. 3, pattern is D, something that happens at the same time or similar times. 4, restless is A, unable to sleep or relax because of stress, boredom, or other thing. 5, interrupt is F, stop the continuous progress of an activity or process. 6, entirely, completely, That's G. 7, nocturnal. My name should actually, in my picture, should actually be by nocturnal, because that's me. Nocturnal is B, anything about the night. Paragraph 2, 8, conducted is K, carried out, done. 9, tracked is H, follow the course of something, someone or something, usually to find them or note their location or activity. 10, isolated is, I hate when I do this and I can't see, I, far away from other places, buildings, or people, remote. 11, rural, that's a tough one, rural. Rural is in relating to or characteristic of the countryside rather than the town. 12, artificial is M, made or produced by human beings rather than naturally, especially as a copy of something natural. 13, synchronized is caused to happen or work at the same time or speed. You see this in synchronized swimming, you know, the sport that they have in the Olympics where all of the swimmers do something at once. And 14, phases, a period or stage in a series of events or a process of change or development. So you're seeing this word a lot right now, you know, whenever they're talking about the COVID vaccine, how it's going in different phases in groups. So right now we're in group 2 or phase 2. Sometimes I've seen it sort of referred to interchangeably. So hopefully you got all those right. Go back now that you know the meaning or you've seen the meaning and see if it makes more sense or the words make more sense to you in the context of the article. All right, let's go on. All right, let's go over the true or false and see how well we remember things from the article. Number A, not number A, but letter A. Scientists say there is no link between sleep and lunar cycles. B, scientists say people may have restless sleep when there is a full moon. C, the extra brightness of the moon could interrupt our sleep. D, moonlight is a source of nocturnal light. E, scientists looked at the sleep pattern of over 5,000 people. F, some of the people in the study lived in a rural Argentinian village. G, people in a rural village got more sleep on nights before a full moon. H, scientists say human sleep is synchronized with lunar phases. So put on pause, go ahead and do those, and we will look at the responses in the next slide. All right, let's go over the answers to the true or false. A, scientists say there is no link between sleep and lunar cycles. That is false, right? There is a direct link between them. B, scientists say people may have restless sleep when there is a full moon. That is true, and it said usually because the moon is so bright that interrupts our sleep. The extra brightness of the moon could interrupt our sleep. That's true, and I just literally said that. D, moonlight is a source of nocturnal light. That is true, and nocturnal means night. E, scientists looked at the sleep pattern of over 5,000 people. That is false. The article said it was over 500 people, right? F, some of the people in the study lived in a rural Argentinian village. That is true, and it's the village that did not have access to electricity. G, people in a rural village got more sleep on nights before a full moon. That is false. So it said both people in cities with light pollution and in the rural village got less sleep before a full moon. And H, scientists say human sleep is synchronized with lunar phases. This is true. So if you don't get a good night's rest, you can always blame it on the moon and not because you were up too late watching Netflix. All right, let's go on. All right, for this next part, we are going to do this sort of PowerPoint about some facts on the moon. And I just got this from the website down here, the Mensa for Kids. But I thought it'd be cool to look up some things on the moon. So, some moon facts. The moon has many names. For instance, the Romans call it Luna. The moon does not make its own light. It can only reflect light. We see the light reflected off the moon from the sun. The moon has no atmosphere. So it doesn't have weather. There's no wind on the moon. Because of this, the footprints on the moon left by the astronauts will stay for millions of years. The moon is about 4.5 billion years old. That's pretty old. The moon is orbiting around the Earth at the speed of 2,288 miles per hour. That is really fast, and it's just kind of crazy how we don't feel that, right? Because of gravity. So the words that I underlined, let's look at those. So Luna, so if you know Spanish, which most of you do, you know that Luna is the word for moon. So it is actually Italian and Spanish, and it's derivative from the Latin word for moon, but it is also it also means the Romans used it as the word for the goddess of the moon, right? Luna was the ancient Roman personification of the moon, and again it means moon in Latin. Reflect. So what does reflect mean? Let me go back really quickly. So here it says the moon does not make its own light. It can only reflect light. So reflect in this instant means of a surface or body throw back heat, light, or sound without absorbing it, right? When the sun's rays hit the earth, a lot of the heat is reflected back into space. So you see light here reflected. So that's what happens with the light that hits the moon. We see the light reflected off the moon from the sun. So it's just pitch black actually. All right, atmosphere. The envelope of gases surrounding the Earth or another planet. Part of the sun's energy is absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere. So again, it said the moon has no atmosphere, so it doesn't have weather. No rain, no wind, nothing. Which would make it very difficult for humans to live there, right? Orbiting. So orbiting comes from the word orbit, which means of a celestial object or spacecraft move in orbit around a star or planet. Fly or move around in a circle. So to go around, you orbit it. So the Earth and Moon sort of orbit, right? Let's see the way that it was used. The Moon is orbiting around the Earth at a speed of 2,288 miles. Okay, let's go to the next set of facts. The surface of the Moon isn't flat. It has a lot of craters. They were formed by meteorites hitting the Moon. The Moon also has mountains and valleys. The Moon moves across our sky toward the east. The Moon is 250,000 miles from Earth. Apparently, I can't count. The Moon takes 27 days, 7 hours, 43 minutes, and 11.6 seconds to orbit the Earth. So let's see, what is a crater? So a crater is a large bowl-shaped cavity in the ground or on the surface of a planet or moon, typically one caused by an explosion or the impact of a meteorite or other celestial body. So here in the picture you see some of the Moon's craters. It can also mean a large bowl used in ancient Greece for mixing wine, but in this sense it's talking about the bowl-shaped cavities, right? So it's not flat, it has a lot of these craters formed by meteorites. So what is a meteorite? A meteorite is a fragment of rock or iron from outer space, usually a meteoroid or asteroid, which survives passage through the atmosphere as a meteor to impact the surface of the Earth, or in this case the Moon. Meteorites are believed to originate in the asteroid belt between the planets of Mars and Jupiter. So here in the US, there are a lot of places that have huge craters in those. In fact, there's a place called Crater Lake. Those are believed to have been caused by large meteorites that have hit the Earth. The next word is toward. So let's see how it was used. The Moon moves across our sky toward the east. So toward is in the direction of, or as regards in relation to, but in this sense it's in the direction of. So this word you might see in two different ways. You might see toward or towards with an S, and basically they are the same, except for, here we can see that it says, is that a meteor hurling toward the Earth or towards it? If you're an American, you can use either word. Some will claim that towards is incorrect, but it's really a matter of personal preference. So in England, they say towards, and in the US, we tend to say toward, but either one of them will be correct if you hear it or use it. Next facts. The part of the Moon we can see changes. We call these changes the phases of the Moon. The phases of the Moon are caused by its orbit around the Earth. The first phase of the Moon is called the new moon. That is when the Moon isn't visible from Earth. If you have 13 full moons in a tropical year, winter solstice to winter solstice, the extra one is called a blue moon. It takes the Moon about 29.5 days to go through all its phases. We call this a lunar month. So let's see what a phase is. So a phase in this sense is going to be a distinct period or stage in a series of events or a process of change or development. Each of the aspects of the Moon or planet, according to the amount of its illumination, especially the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the last quarter. So that's what this one is referring to, right? The aspects of the moon. So here we see the different moon phases. The new moon. I kind of like, you know, when you see the waxing crescent. That's whenever it looks like a piece of melon. All right, the next word that we saw was visible. So visible means able to be seen, and the way that we saw it here was the first phase of the moon is called the new moon. That is when the moon isn't visible from the earth. And then solstice. You hear this word a lot, especially in December, the winter solstice. So the solstice, that's kind of a hard word. The time or date twice each year at which the sun reaches its maximum or minimum declination, marked by the longest and shortest days, about June 21st and December 21st. So that's just longest days as far as sunlight, right? On December 21st or 22nd, usually you have the least amount of sunlight, and then around June 1st, you're going to have the most amount of sunlight. So make those days super, super productive. All right, so hopefully you are able to pick up some of those words, and let's go on. All right, so let's go to the NASA webpage. We actually went to it a few weeks ago, and it's a great resource, again, just to peruse and look around at some really, really cool features that they have. But today, since we are talking about the moon, if you go to just Google, you know, NASA and moon, it'll take you directly to the page, or you can go to solarsystem.nasa.gov. So this is a really cool kind of feature. You can turn the light on and light off to sort of see, you know, how the sun hits it in different parts. You can turn it over. You can see the different craters. You get some facts about the moon. We saw this one already. Latin word for moon is luna. Human visitors to the moon, 24. 12 moon walkers. 100 plus robotic visitors. You also get a few more facts about the moon and some other features that you can explore. So please go to this website and just sort of look through it, and then we'll talk in the next slide about the Artemis program. So one of the sort of collaborative programs that NASA is doing is the Artemis program, and it's humanity's return to the moon. It's a collaborative effort that they're doing with other companies, and it's to put the first woman on the moon and the next man, and hopefully they will do this by 2024. Their main objective, I believe, is to be able to have people on the moon sort of long-term, to do more long-term exploration, but also to have a way to be able to launch satellites from close to the moon to be able to go to other places like Mars. This is from the nasa.gov website, so please sort of look through it. You can find more information about the spacecraft that they're going to use. This is the I can't remember how to pronounce it. Orion, the spacecraft that will carry the crew and the spacesuits. But you can also find additional information, in the videos that we have about exactly what the program entails. One of the interesting things about this program is that one of the possible people that could land on the moon is actually a woman from North Carolina. Yay, North Carolina. Her name is Christina Cook, and there were 18 people that were selected for the Artemis mission, and she was one of them. She is a native of Jacksonville, North Carolina, I believe, but she went to NC State University. That is where my niece goes, Wolfpack, and the North Carolina School of Science and Math. So in the near future, be looking for her name and kind of cheer her on. Look her up and find some more information on her. You can find some videos on the NASA website, and I think sort of additional information on some other missions that she has done. She's been on space missions before, and I believe she's one of the people that has spent the most time in space, or at least one of the women. So look her up. She's super, super fascinating, and hopefully the first woman on the moon will be a North Carolinian. All right, let's go on. Well, that wraps up today's lesson. I hope that you learned something new, maybe something new about the moon that you didn't know, or any vocabulary word that you are able to use. I hope that you have a wonderful week. Please stay safe and busy, and we'll see you back next week.